And good morning. Welcome to the show today. This is Patrick Lee, your host. It's time for Midweek Motivation Live. You asked for it. We have a hot show for you today. We're going to be talking about potentially toxic traits in our ladies. We'll be back right after this. Hello, everyone. It's time for Midweek Motivation Live. This is Patrick Lee, your host, and we are back. Thank you for tuning in today. People already tuning in live around town and around the world here for Midweek Motivation Live, now on all major podcast platforms. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find Midweek Motivation Live. We post a new episode every Wednesday before noon after we go live Wednesday morning. This gets uploaded to the website and gets streamed out to all major podcast platforms and YouTube as well. Thank you for tuning in today. This is a show some people probably told me I didn't have the guts to make. Good morning, Sal. Good morning, Pete. People already regular guests on the show. So good to see you all here today. I know that you're waiting with bated breath to see what I have to say about our ladies. We did a show. So this is my disclaimer at the beginning of this show. I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I have consulted with and done research with licensed psychologists, psychiatrists, and watched a lot of information on this to bring these a combination of, I think, the core traits that we can learn to identify in people of the opposite sex, our ladies. Before you decide to date them, if you're in the beginning of a potential relationship with them, or even if you happen to be married to your lady, and these are some of the traits that they show to you, that they produce, and the way that they act around you. And hopefully this will help some of you today. We have done a show also on men. Previously, I wasn't slamming the men, and I am not going to slam women today. I love women. My mom was one. So I love women. Trust me, I love women. But we all need help in our lives, and the goal of the show is to motivate you to success in every area of life. And in relationships, this is one of those important areas that possibly I can help you today. So this is the show you asked for it, learning to identify possible toxic traits in women. Oh, and by the way, I did spend the night at a Holiday Inn Express once, so that basically makes me an expert on the subject. That's just a little joke. I have been married successfully for over 33 years to the same woman. Most of the people I know have been divorced at least once, and some of them multiple times, and are now in successful relationships. Sometimes the third time's the charm. A lot of times a man or woman goes through a divorce, and that one time divorce was enough for them to realize, I recognize toxic traits in myself I need to work on, or I recognize toxic traits in my spouse that she refused to work on, and that marriage then ended. So whatever the reason was that marriage possibly ended, that person takes that lesson, learns from it. Everything in life happens for you, not to you, right? If you learn from that, you can move on and have a successful relationship. In the beginning of my relationship with my wife, and I'm not using her as a toxic example, she is the love of my life. She is phenomenal. But we will talk a little bit about the beginning of that relationship, because my wife had been through a lot of trauma in her life as a younger girl, with the passing of a sibling, with divorce in her family, with her parents and other people in her life. And she had to learn how to cope with a lot of different things at a very young age. And when we decided to get together and we started dating, I had I had excellent examples of parents. My parents are one of the only sets of people I know that never got divorced. They were happily married over 60 years when my father passed away about 3 years ago. And my father was still the love of my mom's life. She's in a nursing home, very successfully living right now, but would never dream of becoming interested in or attracted to or marrying another person. Dad was the love of her life. My wife is the love of my life. So I had great examples. My wife didn't necessarily have great examples. So she exhibited some of these things that we're going to talk about today. And in the beginning of our relationship, we actually did separate for a while. It didn't take long enough for me to realize I was an idiot and come crawling back to her. And she graciously accepted me back. However, in that process, she learned to change a lot of the traits that she was exhibiting that were driving me away or causing me to be less interested. So sometimes, let me say that, sometimes you don't drive someone away by being necessarily toxic. But if you exhibit some of these traits as a lady, that person will eventually leave your life. And it wasn't that you drove them away intentionally, but they wouldn't or didn't have the intestinal fortitude to confront the activity because of how they probably knew you would react at that stage of your life. So as opposed to causing a giant blow up and telling you need counseling or you're crazy, which is, I hate that term, you're crazy, because so many men say that about their spouse, their significant other, the women that they know. They say you're crazy. That's not necessarily true, but these are toxic traits that can be identified as she's a crazy gal. So a lot of men are not willing to bring that to attention or confront that. Instead, they peacefully, in their mind, leave the relationship. Does that make sense? So to avoid confrontation, they just leave and they say, hey, obviously, I don't see enough positive in this relationship to move forward. I think I'm just going to move on and say next. And that, unfortunately, they may have been able to have a very successful relationship moving forward had they simply been willing to identify some of these traits. Number one, let's just jump into these. Number one topic today is Snoopy, Snoop Doggy Dog. Is she a Snoop? How many of you know a woman that snoops into everything? She's a Snoop. You're dating. She comes to your place, or you go to her place, or you're sitting down and she takes your phone and wants to start looking through your phone. You go to the bathroom, you come in and she's looking through your drawers. She wants to know everything about you. That's a Snoopy. We call that the Snoop. And they have a need to know everything about you immediately, right away. I've experienced this in the past, not with in the very beginning of my relationship with my wife, she had a need to know, but those were some of the things that we're going to talk about later on in the broadcast. And we addressed that. But I have friends that say, man, I went to the bathroom and I came back and this girl was going through my dresser drawers. I'm like, what? You've gone into your medicine cabinet and realized after you had your potential girlfriend over or a lady friend over and they went to the restroom that they dug through your medicine cabinet or your drawers. How many of you have had that girl, that lady, randomly just ask you for your phone like they're trying to catch you doing something wrong? They're like, why won't you give me your phone? Unlock your phone and hand it to me. While in a successful relationship, we should be able to do that. And the phone, where's my phone? The phone is one of the reasons that we have so many problems in a lot of relationships today. But listen, let's just call a spade a spade. Before the cell phone was invented, there were still Snoopy women. And equal billing, there's Snoopy men as well. But that's another narcissistic tendency that we talked about on the man show. This is the lady show. Before cell phones existed, there were women that were still Snoopy. They had to dig through everything. They had to look through everything. They had to have every bit of information about you, and they're always looking and digging. A lot of women go so far, and it's not necessarily a bad thing unless they take it to extremes. But a lot of women will hire, or they'll have friends do background checks on you. Or if they're not satisfied with that, they'll hire a detective to follow you just to catch you cheating on them, just to catch you having a relationship with someone, a friend, or going to lunch with someone, even a work associate, because they're snoopy. They can't stand to not know everything about you. That's toxic. You need to get that, ladies. I love you, and I want you to get this in balance, because being a terrible snoop will drive a man away. A man is a leader. They are like the lion, and there are some things that they need to be allowed to have privacy in. Not if it's to the point that they're cheating on you. Please don't ever assume that that's what I'm talking about. If you feel attacked, when I read any of these topics out, don't feel attacked. Just self-reflect and find out if possibly one of these traits could be identified within yourself. And it may be something that's not out of control, but simply something you recognize and might want to work on. Okay. I say this with the most amount of grace and love that I know how while I do this show. So there you go. Number 2, the victim mentality. This woman never takes the blame for any of their own actions. Now, I have dealt with this in the past with friends, with other people, married couples that we have had relationships with, and friends, and people that I've worked with, people through the years. They have a victim mentality. Raise your hand if you know one. They never take the blame for any of their own actions. Anytime something goes wrong, it's always someone else's fault, and they're always shifting the blame onto another person. And that's not fair. Number one, in life, that's not fair. If you are the person responsible for the car wreck, stand up and take the blame. If you're the person responsible for the loss of relationship, the divorce, stand up, take the responsibility for that, learn from that, and move on. Get away from the victim mentality. If every time something goes wrong in a relationship you're trying to have with this woman, and they always blame you when you know it's not your fault, that's a sure sign that they are suffering from this victim mentality mindset. They never take the blame. It's always someone else's fault. Many of you know the person that I'm talking about, and you can identify them right away. Okay. I know them, you know them. It's just not an attractive. It's just not an attractive feature that they have. It's always someone else's fault. Moving on from that one to the next one, and this is a biggie: excessive jealousy. People were saying, "I can't believe you're going to talk about all of these things, Patrick. I've been asked to do this show previously, and they're like, hey, how come you're not talking about women? You talked about men." I'm like, it's on the way. But today it's here. So excessive jealousy, that you know who this woman is. You can't have a relationship with anyone besides her. She's jealous of anyone you talk to, who, if you're on the phone with someone, she wants to know who it is. She wants to know everything about your day. What did you do? Where did you go? Who did you talk to? Excessive jealousy. If you are sitting at the restaurant and your server is a lady and you're overly kind to the server, or you simply compliment the server for good service, or thank you, I really appreciate your hard work, and they get mad about that, excessive jealousy. If they turn around and use the phrases such as, oh, you think she's pretty? Oh, you think she's a better cook than me? Oh, you think you want her? Where is that coming from? No, it's called common decency, courtesy, complimentary statements that are made to other people. Compliments are the secret to success in many people's lives. We want to have positivity, right? The law of reciprocity tells us that what you put out into the world will come back to you. So would I be openly critical of other people in public? especially when I'm trying to impress a lady that I may be with. Because the way you treat the server in the restaurant is generally you're going to treat your spouse or significant other as bad or worse than that server. So if you're treating the server well, wouldn't it stand to bear witness that you might treat your spouse or significant other better as well? Don't be jealous when the man gives compliments to other people. If you have to know everything about them, there is a deep-rooted insecurity within you that you need to work on. I'm not preaching at you. I'm telling you this to help you. I love you. It's unhealthy. It gets to be extreme over everything. And that's something you need to start learning to let go. And you'll have a much, much happier life. The deep-rooted insecurity that is the ugly animal behind jealousy can be uprooted and destroyed over time. That was an issue that I dealt with my wife in the beginning, was jealousy. And it was because she felt, and I'm not sharing deep, dark secrets, but she felt at that point in the beginning of our relationship that I was hers. And because so many things had left her life as a child, I was the one steady thing that was hers, and she didn't want to share me, my life, my conversations, anything about me with anyone else. And it was one of the things that I eventually was brave enough to just tell her, this wall of jealousy, these walls you have built around yourself, we're going to have to work on those. I love you, but you're going to have to work on that, because you can't second question everything I do, everyone I talk to, everything that I say, every conversation that I have. I just simply won't be with a person that exhibits that kind of behavior continuously. And I hope that you wouldn't either. Now, let me also add this disclaimer. Many people will just say, you do you, boo. You can say whatever you want, but hey, it works with me and my man. He likes me being jealousy. I think a little bit of jealousy is healthy in every relationship, okay? Y'all can't believe I just said you do you, boo. I know I'm a 59-year-old guy who doesn't generally talk like that, but it's what people say. It's like, hey, don't tell me how to live my life. Well, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm trying to help you learn to have a more successful life and be happier in every area of your life. And so a little bit of jealousy is a good thing. And I've said this before. No man wants to be with someone that no one else finds attractive, and neither does any woman. No woman wants to be with someone that no one else finds attractive. Otherwise, you would say, good Lord, why in the world are they with that other person? However, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but we need to have that small amount of jealousy to where if someone looks twice at your spouse, you need to be aware of that. If someone looks at your spouse, wife, girlfriend, and they're snooping, or they're giving him that look, a flirtatious look, you got to mind that. There are people that will, that are flirtatious in nature, and you know who they are, and you learn to recognize them. And you, as the man, limit your activity with that person, right? So a little bit of jealousy is good. We need to watch out for each other, because that's what partners do, is we watch each other's back and their front. We love each other, and we want to make sure that we protect that relationship so we don't allow that bond to be broken. But that easily goes over the line. Does that make sense? Moving on. Fast movers. If she is a fast mover, if you decided you've gone on a date and it was a fairly successful date, you like this person, and then out of the blue you go to the second date, and on the second date they're already telling you they love you, ding, 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 that's a red flag. Now, do I believe in love at first sight? Yes, that is also another disclaimer, and there are a few of them in this program, but that generally love at first sight is great, but you don't usually say I love you on the first or second date. Love is something that needs to be saved and shared when it's actually true love, and you know that it's love, not infatuation with someone you just met, and you kind of love their actions, you love their mannerisms. You may think that they're very attractive and you love that. You can love things about a person, you can love traits about a person, but until you truly know that person, you don't love them. So if you say, I love you, if that woman says, I love you on the first date, second date, automatically starts breaking plans with their friends and family members to ask you to go do things with them and be with them 100% of that time, there is some kind of a misplacement of feelings there. And if they're that willing to ditch their friends and family members to want to be with you 100% of the time on the second date, that's a fast mover. And they're trying to replace something else in their life with you. And that's going to bring us into one of our later topics down the list. But that's something you need to look out for. That's another red flag. There's something lacking in her life that you are going to be taking the place of or filling a void. Now, everyone has holes in their life, holes in their mentality, holes in their psyche. And I get that. And there are, we are always looking for someone to fill those, someone or something. And many people turn to alcohol, they turn to drugs, but many people turn to a significant other. They want to fill that void in their life with a person. And if that void is something they're missing, that you are simply there to fill that void, that neediness void, the loneliness void, you need to get a healthy grasp of that with this person and find out if that's the case. Because the fast mover is generally, that's what they're looking to do. There's something missing in their life, and they're immediately grabbing you and pushing you into that needy space. And that can be dangerous. That can be a toxic trait that eventually leads you to understand where you stand with that person, and they will drive you away. And that's not what we want. We want people to have healthy relationships. I see a couple of sad faces up here in the emoticons at the top. That makes me sad. But I hope those emoticons are sad because they understand that this is a sad topic. There are toxic traits in our women. I've done the show about the toxic traits in men to help our women learn to understand us when we're not exhibiting good behavior. And I want to help the men as well learn to understand this when women are not exhibiting positive behavior and how to recognize that and move forward. Because I want everyone to be happy in their life and their relationships. And like I've said at the beginning of the show, nearly everyone I know has been through a divorce. My heart goes out to them. My family, most of my family has been divorced multiple times. I don't intend to ever get divorced. And I pray that I continue to lead, love, and grow in my relationship with my spouse so that does not happen. Next topic. We've only got a couple more here. And we're going to talk about the liar, pants on fire. That's what we used to say when we were kids, right? When we caught someone telling a lie. If you're dating a woman and you find out that they lie about some little things, like, I'm sorry, I'm late. I was in a car wreck. It could be anything. And it's like, good and well, they weren't in a car wreck. I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm just always late. I'm like, are you always late, or are you only late to things that don't matter? If you had an appointment with an attorney, would you be late? If you had a wedding or a funeral, are you going to be late? Now, there are some people that are always late, but you need to determine, is that the truth? If you catch a person in a potential relationship not telling you the truth, number one, you need to understand at the beginning, right? Did they not tell me 100% of the truth and withhold some of the facts because they don't know me yet? They don't know how I'm going to react based on what happened in their life. So they just fudged things a little bit to save my feelings in the beginning. Sometimes that's a little different. But if someone just starts out and they lie to you and you immediately know that they've lied to you, that's a red flag. And that means that they will potentially lie about much bigger things. And unfortunately, the white lies lead to big, hairy, ugly black lies. And once you start, the downside, we all know, once you start telling small lies, it becomes easier and easier to tell larger lies. And the downside of becoming a liar is that you have to continue lying and then covering up that lie with another lie. And eventually your lies will be exposed. Everything done in the dark will be brought to the light. And when you are found out to be a liar, it's going to be a much bigger, more painful, hurtful thing. I hope this is making sense to you. So if you start dating someone or you find yourself in a relationship with someone and you find out that they're immediately starting to tell small lies about things, you may have seen them and they didn't know it in a restaurant with a friend. And when you get together, they give you a completely different story of what they did and where they were that day. And it may not be that you even asked, but they simply shared that with someone and they said, hell, I was at lunch with so-and-so today, and you saw them at lunch with someone else. That should give you reason to pause and think, well, if they would lie about that. And at that point, in conversation, you could even say, oh my, I thought I saw you with so-and-so today, but I wasn't sure it was you. So I didn't want to go over there and mention, and walk up, especially in the beginning of a relationship. Right. And that person would immediately know that they may have been caught in a lie. I hope this is helping some of you today. I am not attacking anyone. I have given you all the disclaimers, and I'm speaking the truth in love to help us all live happier, more successful lives. Number 6 is the no female friends girl. Jason says little lies equal huge character problems. Yes, they do. Ross Daigle says my wife can freely have my phone, but in 12 years, she's never asked for it outside of unique situations where she needed it for banking or shopping, etc., that she couldn't do on her own phone. And these are great comments. Thank you guys for chiming in. And each one of these, I'm telling each one of you, each one of these they're a problem when they're overly exhibited, when they're taken to extremes, because there are going to be times when your wife says, hey, give me your phone. My phone's dead. Can I have your phone? Yes, I want to show my wife some pictures. I take a lot of trips. We do a lot of things. And she's like, oh, great, show me. And I show her the phone. I don't have to hold my phone and let her look at it and say, now don't swipe left. Don't swipe right. If you have to tell someone, don't swipe left or right, then there's probably something on your phone you don't want her to see. And if it's her phone that you have and they say that, then that's probably the same instance. There's something they don't want you to see. Now, innocently enough, it could be a photo of a surprise that they've taken pictures of a gift that they're going to purchase for you. It could be something innocent. But many, many times when someone hands me their phone to show me a picture, I'm not immediately swiping left or right to see if I can catch them doing something wrong or to see if they had bad things on their phone, right? You shouldn't expect that in a spouse or significant other either, right? No female friends. This is the next one we're talking about now. If you start to date a person and they don't have any female friends, that could potentially be a red flag. And this is one many of you may not have thought about in the past. But if you start to date someone and they don't have any friends, there's a reason that person probably doesn't have any friends. Now, female friends, I said, but it's generally any friends. If they don't have any friends, that's even bigger red flag. But if they don't have female friends, that's a red flag, mainly because you and I know as men and other women watching the show, a lot of women watch the show and comment that women are relational beings. Very much so, to the point they love having besties. You're my bestie. You're my BFF. We're going to be friends forever. Their social media is plastered with pictures of them and their friends. They love having friends. They are relational beings. They love doing things with my girls, with my ladies. We do pajama parties. We do our nails together. We go get massages together. We take trips together. We go out for happy hours together. And because they are relational friends, and as ladies, they need girlfriends, women friends in their life. And if you find out that this person has zero friends, not even one really good best friend, there's a reason for that. There's an underlying reason. I was looking for a better word. There's something going on in that person to where they have driven all of their friends away. And there's got to be a reason behind that. There's got to be a motive why they don't have friends. It may be, and if that person is simply a homebody, they're a bookworm, they're a seamstress, they never go out in public, they're afraid of social media, they don't like social interaction, that might be some reasons a person may not have friends. But how many people do you know that would fit that description? Very, very few. If a person just says, I don't have any friends, how in the world did you come together with that person and agree to go on a date in the first place? Or did they agree to go on a date or a second date with you? If you have started dating and you're on date 1 or date 2 and this person has no friends, how in the world did you meet in the first place, right? Many people meet through a friend of a friend, or through work, or a lot of people through dating apps. And I know many people that have been successfully connected to a partner on a dating app. I'm not against it. But learn to identify these traits while you're dating some of these people. Some of them are crazy, and you don't want to be connected with that, right? If this person has no female friends, there's got to be a reason. And chances are they're exhibiting these kinds of toxic behaviors even amongst their female friends. And if you have ran off all of your female friends, I guarantee you that you will run off male friends as well, and potentially a male mate. And then finally, the last topic I want to go over today is narcissistic devaluation. And that's one that it seems a little tough for some people. We talked about the narcissism aspect on the Man Show when we talked about that with men. And yes, Pastor Frank, relational patterns, good and bad. Watch the patterns. Absolutely. Frank is a successfully, happily married man of many, many years, and pastor, and a great teacher on relationships as well. Thank you for that comment, Pastor Frank. I love that. Narcissistic devaluation, like I said, that we talked about with men. This is one of the narcissistic patterns that is prevalent in women who are in relationships with men, and that is the devaluation principle. Women, and it can be as simple as this: oh my God, you're so stupid. Oh, you're so silly. Oh, it's good thing you've got me because you're so ugly. No one else would ever want you. And these are little comments that you see them on TikTok, you see them on Instagram and Reels. Women are always making fun of or belittling their men. And this is actually a dangerous tendency that women exhibit when narcissism is one of the things that they have a problem with. And what is a narcissist? What is narcissism? We've done shows on narcissism, but that person basically belittles you and convinces you that you are nothing, to the point that if without them, you would never have money, you would never have a relationship, you would never have happiness in your life. And that's a dangerous personality disorder. It is a disorder. Believe me when I say that. Narcissism is a disorder. It is something that most of the time, if you can't get prayed for and delivered from, takes clinical treatment to get people multiple appointments and visits to be treated to get over narcissism, because the person is so convinced or so needy, they become convinced that if they can devalue you, you will never need anyone but them. And at that point, they control you. And the narcissist goal is long-term control of you, your actions. You become their puppet, their plaything, their puppy dog, and you do not become a valued partner in the relationship. Hope that makes sense to you. So narcissistic devaluation, like I said a little bit ago, can be as simple as you're so silly, you're so ugly, And then they get you to start believing that. But in the long term, that actually turns into verbal abuse, that they start vocally belittling you in private, and then it leads and spills forth into the public setting where they will just go off on you in public. Who do you think you are? You're stupid. You're ugly. No one would ever want to be with you. I can't believe I'm even with you. If you don't learn to treat me better, I'm out of here. All of these kinds of statements will come out from that person. And then the man, like a puppy dog, starts changing their behavior to always be walking on eggshells around the lady, hoping they don't do something to set her off. And at that point, you have become her long-term plaything. And no man, and no man wants to be that. Now, if you do, you have issues and we can talk about them in the future. But no man deserves or should enjoy being nothing than the puppet of a woman in a relationship. Not a real man. A real man loves a woman the way Christ loves the church. And a real woman who is not exhibiting these toxic traits will love and submit to her man as he loves her, and they can move forward in a successful and happy relationship. Hey guys, I hope I tackled the subject today with love and grace. All of you ladies know that I love you, and if you do exhibit some of these behaviors, learn to get those under control. And if you do, I promise you that you can move forward in healthy and happy, successful relationships in the future. This has been Patrick Lee with Midweek Motivation Live. I told you I'd tackle this topic, and I did. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all got something from it. Until I see you next time, bonus tip, rest to recharge. And remember, courage begins at the end of your comfort zone. I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.